This is TSN Inside Sports. New Jersey's Montreal connection. Larry Robinson is one of several ex-Habs who've turned the Devils into contenders. Tonight, we'll talk to Larry and to Philadelphia Flyers GM Russ Farwell, who today fired his head coach Terry Simpson. Also, our weekly panel, Steve Dryden and Bill Clement. Welcome to TSN Inside Sports. I'm Dave Hodge. It's just a bit ironic that the New Jersey Devils were beaten last night by Stéphane Matteau's overtime goal. Matteau being a Quebecer. The Devils are the New York area team most closely identified with Quebec because of the involvement of several ex-Montreal Canadiens. The New York Rangers have their Stanley Cup experience from 7 former Edmonton Oilers. Well, the Devils can flash their own diamonds because of their Montreal connection. Head coach Jacques Lemaire celebrated 8 Stanley Cups with the Habs. His assistant, Larry Robinson, won 6. As for Devils in uniform, Claude Lemieux and Stéphane Richer were members of Montreal's Stanley Cup team of 1986. In a few minutes, we'll speak with Larry Robinson, but first, here's TSN's Rob Sinclair with more on the Habs turned Devils.
When Jacques Lemaire joined Jersey, he brought a Stanley Cup ring for each finger and the Montreal mystique. The Canadiens' guide to the Stanley Cup, the way to win.
Composure is the key thing. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be patient. You have to do the little things right. And, you know, it's always a team effort, but everyone that steps on the ice, they have to be aware that themselves, they have to do their own job before starting to think about doing everybody else's job.
His days in Montreal taught him a Canadian had to have an unshakable sense of self-worth. And his first move in shaking things up in New Jersey was a demand that a Devil does too.
Any hockey player that plays without confidence will never be at his best. So that's what we talk a lot about, and you know, I think we had pretty much good success with that, because right now I have the feeling that they understand it and they believe in what they can do, and they're playing good hockey too.
And that CH on your chest shouldn't mean any different than a Devil logo on your chest. I mean, you have to play for the pride of the team that you're playing for, and you have to have pride in your ability as a hockey player and as an athlete.
It's been said Lemaire is a student of the Montreal mystique, but in a sense, it's all he knows. He played for the Canadiens, he coached the Canadiens, and was even assistant GM of the Canadiens. Yet Lemaire's commitment to the Canadiens is not absolute.
Well, I don't really think of it as bringing things from the days of the Canadiens. That, you know, you bring your experiences that you had over the years, and I'm a firm believer in that you can't fill somebody's mind with a whole lot of things and expect them, you know, to play the way that you played, or to play the way that Bobby Orr or Ray Bourque or whoever played. You know, you have to look at their style and look at different things that they do poorly or do well, and try to improve on them.
For 2 former Canadians on the team, just playing in New Jersey is an improvement. Stéphane Richer had 2 50-goal seasons in Montreal, but unrealistic expectations made him want to get out and play by his own rules.
In my rules, I'm not supposed to talk about Montreal anyways.
Tom Chorsky's time with the Canadiens hasn't done much to help him in New Jersey either. The mystique was all around him, but he never really felt a part of it the way he does here.
I was able to take in a lot of the tradition, a lot of the history, their winning ways, just the feeling that it surrounds the Forum and the Canadiens sweater. But mostly, I think I went through some hard times, and you know, anytime that happens, you're going to grow as a player, and when you go into those times again throughout your career, you can draw on them and realize that you're going to overcome them. And for me, that's the experience I gained.
Even some of the youngsters have experienced the Canadian connection. Martin Brodeur's father was team photographer for Montreal. The times he spent with his father at the Forum, he says, taught him tons about winning.
Oh, for sure, you know, I was pretty young, but Larry, I can remember a little bit more Larry, you know, it was when he played with the Kings at the end and everything. I remember a lot of him, you know, and, you know, in Montreal, he's a great personality.
What was it like to come here and then suddenly find yourself playing under these 2 guys?
Oh, it's great, you know, when you know what they did, you know, in their career and everything, they're winners, and you come in here and, you know, there's your coaches, so it makes more exciting.
Perhaps no active Devil has experienced more winning than Claude Lemieux. And the same qualities that won back then, the composure and confidence, he's starting to see now in New Jersey.
I like, you know, the feeling in the group of players we have here, and also what comes down from the coaches to the players, that positive attitude at all times, even in that Boston series when we were down by 2 games. I like, you know, the calmness and that type of thing from the coaches and their experience. It always reflects on the players.
But having won before is no guarantee one will win again, which is why Larry Robinson speaks cautiously of any link between the Canadiens' success and the Devils.
This is your job, and you're getting paid good money for it. So you have to have it within yourself that you have to have pride to work for your employer, and in this case it's the Devils.
In other words, the man who pays you in the present doesn't pay you to live in the past. Now, history may repeat itself, but it doesn't change, so no one's going to take that away from you. What's most important is what you take away from it. For TSN Inside Sports, I'm Rob Sinclair in New Jersey.
Larry Robinson was very nearly a career-long Montreal Canadian, and a much decorated one at that, with 6 first and second team All-Star selections to go with his 6 Stanley Cups. But he did finish his playing days as a Los Angeles King, and now he's a coach in New Jersey, trying hard to return to the Stanley Cup final. Larry, thank you for joining us. I think it's fair to say that the Devils have needed a stronger identity, and I wonder if you think it's any sort of benefit that this ex-Montreal stamp has been as prominent as it has been this season.
Whenever you're making an identity, you want to make and do your own thing, and I think here in New Jersey that they've had pretty good teams along the way over the last few years, but the problem has always been that they were in a pretty tough division. But if you look at their records, they've always had a pretty good record, and they've got a very good mix of players. And so basically when we come in, Jacques, myself, and Jacques Caron, we had some pretty good guys to work with. And I think the way that you can get an identity and the way that people will respond to your club is through being successful. And we had a pretty good year this year, but I don't think that we're going to get the true respect unless you go all the way and unless you win at that one time.
Maybe if you were always pointing to Montreal, you'd forget just how media intense this is with the Rangers. I don't know if you want to compare this to anything you experienced in Montreal, but you certainly have to think that what you're involved in now is probably as intense as anything the Canadiens went through.
Well, it's almost probably as intense as it was for the Montreal-Quebec series. That rivalry is there, and I think there was 100 and some media members here at the game last night. So it's pretty intense, and the fact is that at this point of the year there are only 4 other teams playing at this time. So it's very, very good and very gratifying to be in the company that we're in right now. On the other hand, you've worked so hard to get where you are. It's very disappointing, especially in games, where you fight to stay in the game, and then end up on the losing end of an overtime game. But for us, that's the way it's been all year. We've worked hard to get into a good position, and then we end up with our backs against the wall. And then when we get our backs against the wall, that's when our team seems to play its best hockey. So we're hoping that we can rebound from our losses and get that much-needed identity that we need.
How do you think you'll be affected by the tough loss last night, given the fact that an overtime loss to put you behind in the series is on home ice can be tough to deal with?
Well, it can be, but again, you can point back to the Boston series where we started and we lost both of our home games here. I don't know, there's something with this team that we seem to do better in adverse conditions. And again, it was a tough loss, but I still think that we have guys that aren't playing up to their full capabilities. I think we're getting caught up a little bit too much in the emotion of these games. And we've been and taken a lot of pride in the fact of the way that our team play has been very disciplined, and we haven't taken foolish penalties. We're a very good positioned team, and I think at times throughout this series we've we haven't played discipline. We've gotten out of position, and as a result, when you do that against a skilled team like the Rangers have, you're asking for trouble.
Larry, your coaching future, based on the success you've had this season, does it make you want to stay in this for a long time, become a head coach, or do you entertain those thoughts now?
I'm not really entertaining those thoughts now, especially, you know, the way this season has gone. I've been through 2 double overtimes and a quadruple overtime in Buffalo, and it's kind of taken its toll. I don't know if my wife's going to recognize me when she sees me again. You know, if they had told me that the coaching was as hard on you as it has been, I don't know if I would have taken it. It gets a little frustrating at times. You know, you can't get yourself caught up in what's happening on the ice as far as maybe not getting the calls that you'd like with the referees, or guys not playing the way that you want them. And I guess maybe that comes with experience, and sometimes I get myself a little too emotionally involved, and as a result, you're due for disappointments, and then it's harder to rebound, and you can't think straight. So I'm learning every day, and I'm certainly very fortunate to be able to work with Jacques Lemaire, and I think he's a great hockey man. And right now, I don't know if I'm, you know, really capable of taking a head coaching job or going any further in my coaching duties than I am right now. I still think that I have a lot to learn.
The alternative to all this overtime is missing the playoffs, and
Exactly.
wives don't go for that either.
Yeah, that's for
Larry,
sure.
thanks for talking with us. Good luck to you and the Devils.
Okay, it's always a pleasure.